Well, it's a wild, wet and windy Sunday in Lincolnshire today. All the leaves you can see, they're all coming off the trees now. Got that real autumn smell to it. So we're going to go across the footpaths and I'll show as we go, but we're going to go foraging and we're going to find some rosehips to make rosehip tea, which is full of vitamin C. As across the footbridge here, it's got really fond memories for me. I used to sit on here when I was little and you could see the toads. I was going to say frog spawn, but it'd be toad spawn, and we'd watch all the little tadpoles when they were small. And along the banks here, we used to have kingfishers, but because of the problems with flooding now, the drainage border here regularly. So I sadly have not seen them for a while, but we do get egrets, which are like the little white, almost like tiny storks. And we've had the herons on there this morning. There was a pair of herons. So there's definitely still fish in the drains, or dikes as we call them here in Lincolnshire. At the end of the drain or the dike, we turn left, and as you can see here is the blackthorn. And this is a great place to pick sloes, but obviously there either wasn't any this year or people have beaten me to it. But thankfully I have got some in the freezer ready to make sloe gin, and that's something we'll do another week. But cutting through here you can see all the wonderful brambles that have grown over, and there's still plenty of space to get down the footpath, but it's just lovely being in nature. I'm on the road now, but it's very, very quiet and doesn't get a lot of traffic down there. I mean, most excitement I think this road sees is in harvest time when the combines have to come down, and that is quite exciting when you see the size of them on this little road. But we're coming up to a bit now where it's full of wildlife and the trees and the hedges are allowed to grow up, and in the summer you walk through and it's like a little paradise for birds. I see goldfinches, chaffinches, bullfinches, sparrows, the blue tits, the great tits, and the chatter. I will do this walk again in the spring so you can get to see them hopefully. But as you can see now, the fruits are starting to come around us because the hedges have been allowed to be more natural. We've got lots and lots of hawthorn berries there, and we're starting to see the rosehips, which is what we're looking for. wet and warm weather means mushrooms, and this is a shaggy ink cap mushroom. As you can see, this is what it looks like when it's whole, but they don't last very long, and they kind of melt away and leave this inky pool at the bottom, which is where they get their name from. I've been told that they're edible, but I've never fancied it, if I'm really honest, because somebody has said they really upset you and can be quite poisonous if consumed with alcohol. I just stick to the common field mushroom. It's something I know and something I feel safe with. The wind means that many of the animals and birds that we'd normally see aren't out today. Often you'll hear the kestrels with a really light mew sound, or then the buzzards with their stronger sound as they talk to each other. Sometimes if I go really early in the morning, I'll see the foxes and the badgers, and it really is quite magical at that time of day. As I turned right just here to go over the bridge into the next field, I looked down and I could see the weed, and it just reminded me of Van Gogh or Van Gogh's Starry Night. I don't know if you can see it as well, but isn't nature clever and beautiful? So here's Mr. Pheasant and his wife having a walk. He was very cross when I startled them and did make it well known to me with his loud shouting call. But we're looped round now, coming back up to the back of the village where the old chapel is, and this just brings us out onto the road again, and we're nearly home. There's the pub in the middle of the village, and just as we can see, there's my garage, and we're just going to loop round after saying hello to the calves, and we're going to be back home, ready to get our bounty out to make some delicious rosehip tea. So we're back off our wild and windy walk, but it was a joy to be out, because though it's rainy and windy, it's actually really warm. So I can't complain at all, and I feel so much better for being out in the fresh air. There's my little bag. I've got to show you these again. How aren't they the cutest little secateurs? So good for this. And then in my little bag that I take with me, I didn't take many today, because what I did notice when I was out and about was the lack really of berries on the hedges. I think this was the year farming have a scheme where they cut one side of the hedge one year, one on the other. It's just to do with the subsidies and everything from the government, and it's to help with wildlife. So the ones on the roadside had been cut back quite hard this year, or last year. Yeah, it would have been last year actually, because of where the berries. So we've not got the berries where they've been cut. We've only got the berries higher up and on the other side. So I went to my favourite spot, which is so easy to get to. One thing I would say about these is use a little pair like this that you can get and hold the berry and cut, because they do have thorns on, and my gosh, they grab your skin and it can be quite hard to untangle yourself. Equally, if you wear gloves, it's quite hard to get in and be gentle. So I just take a few from lower down and make sure I've left the ones above. So this is what we've got today, and they are beautiful. So I'm going to pull these off, trim them now, and then I'm going to give them a quick wash, and then I'll be back. So they've had a lovely wash, just a quick rinse really, but I've cut one in half because I want to show you, if I can get it close enough, what's actually inside a rosehip. So you can see the seeds there. That's not an issue. They're absolutely fine. But there are very small, fibrous little hairs inside a rosehip. So what I do is when I'm making tea of any type, I actually just literally get that much and I will throw them in a flask and leave them for 2 or 3 hours, and the tea will steep beautifully, just like that. You don't even have to cut them. Another way of doing it is to just put them in a glass and put boiling water on them. And again, that works really, really well. Sometimes I can use one of these, and this is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to cut them and I'm going to put them in here, and then I'm going to make a cup with it and show you what it looks like. So whilst that's steeping away, as you can see the steam rising. Ooh, there you go. I've put the rest in a freezer bag because there's 2 schools of thought on this. Previously, I've always dehydrated mine. I have a Vortex air fryer. It's the Instant Vortex Plus, and that has a dehydrator setting on it. So it's really useful for anything that you want to store basically. And because I don't have a lot of room, all my storage jars go in my garage. So these are ones, this is one I've done earlier. So you can tell how fresh they keep. But they look quite different when they've been dried. So, but again, absolutely still the same. Tiny little handful. Put them in a flask, or if you've got one of the drinks cups that keeps things hot, that's another good place. Put a few in and then let it steep, because the steeping bit is the important part of it. And again, keeping this in an airtight container. These will last all through the winter, and it's brilliant. So why do we bother really? Well, I don't know about you, but I went to a little local village school, and we used to have semolina pudding, but they had rosehip syrup with it, which was this beautiful sugary syrup made with these. So these are from the dog rose, by the way. You can use other roses as well, but these are the ones that grow wild in our hedgerows. So while that's steeping, we'll come back to it and I'll show you what it's like when it's ready to drink. So it's been steeping for 5 minutes now. This is like a double wall glass, so it's kept it nice and warm. It doesn't look, you expect it because a lot of the ones you buy to look pink, but no, it's just a pale lemony colour. I'm going to keep that because I will actually use, I'll get a second one out of that. A lot of people find it, let me just taste it. See, I quite like that. I wouldn't want to add any sweetener to it, but then I don't have sweetener in drinks. It's really warming. It's almost got a very light citrusy taste, but you can add a teaspoon of honey to it if you want. But that is going to be packed full of vitamin C, and it's a really lovely, refreshing, warming drink on an autumn's day. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope you'll enjoy going foraging.